The webinar is about looking at accessibility in Word, so it's actually going to be in two sections. It's going to be essentially looking at how you can support or just make some changes in Word to make it more user-friendly for pupils. So I do apologise if anything I've covered you might already know about. And the second bit is going to be looking at how you can make it more accessible in terms of maybe to support a blind student or a blind pupil who might be using a screen reader. So without further ado, I'll just get started and change my screen. Okay. So I'm just going to go and share my screen now. And share. Okay, so we've got Word here. And the first thing we want to do is get some text into it to see how we can start manipulating the text and making it more user-friendly. So I don't know if you're familiar with this little shortcut key. It's a nice one. I've got it here. If I just press Control and copy, and it's this one called equals rand. So if I just paste that in, let's get rid of that. Okay, so if I do equals rand, and then it's an open bracket and a closed bracket, and this should work on most versions of Word, and then press enter, I get some text in. So that's quite handy. Okay, so I'll just undo that again. So bit of rand, so equals rand, open bracket, close bracket, press return, and it pops in some text as well. So that's quite nicely just to get started with some text. And I should say the exams have just come out in the room next door, so it might be a bit noisy, so I apologise for that. So we've got some Word, some text in Word. So what other sort of things that can we do? So one of the things we can do is we might want to make it into more of a sort of an accessibility or let's say a digital jotter type thing. So if I go into View now, and what I'm going to do is go to Read Mode. So in Read Mode, you can see it's looking more like maybe something you might see on an app, for example, maybe on the Kindle app or that type of thing. And some of the things you can do, if I just go up onto View, is that there's some options there to change the page color. You might see this actually sometimes, or inverse it when you're opening Word for the first time, and it actually just defaults to that thing. So that can make life a bit easier for reading documents, certainly for reading. So let's just come out of that and see none. And there are other options there for different kinds of layouts. You can do column width, those sorts of things. So if you have a student who's maybe just reading Word, then that might be a useful solution. So let's just go back into View, and we'll edit document, and that takes us out of that one. So the other thing I could do is I could just go down to the bottom here and I could increase the document. So I could make that bigger. Okay, so you see that's quite good. I'm making that larger. So I'm up 240, but you notice what's happening is that the text is actually just falling off the side. So now what I'm going to have to do is just move back and forwards to fit that text in. So that might not be that particularly useful. Oops, that's just a bit too small. Let's bring it back up again. So let's get so the other thing I can do then is use web layout. So if I go into web layout now, okay, and you can see it's just like that. So now if I want to read some text and I'm finding it a bit too small, I can really zoom in on that text, and you see what's happening as I'm zooming in up to 190, 200, and the text is just flowing down the side of the document. So just a couple of tips that might come in handy if you have any students who just need to make the document a bit more readable when you're doing that, okay? So that's in View, and the first one was read mode, and the second one is web layout. Now I'm just going to go back into print mode now, okay? Okay, so other things we can do is we can maybe look at some color options. So for that, I'm going to click on the Design tab, and this is Office 2016, I think, but this could be Office 2010 or 2013. It's the same kind of principle that runs, so it doesn't really matter which version of Word you have, it's fairly similar. So now I've clicked on the Design tab, and at the end here, I've got some page colors. So I could easily just, if the student maybe has a scotopic light sensitivity difficulty or visual stress type of thing, you can just use the colors that are in there, or you could just go into more colors and you can maybe just set those colors as the student needs them. And those colors remain in the recent colors that you've got, so that's quite handy to have as well. So now I've kind of enlarged the text if I need to do that. I've changed the color background. But it might be that the student needs to do some spacing, because let's face it, that this, the spacing might be difficult for the student, for the pupil. So I could go to up to on the Home tab, and I could go to the Spacing tab, which is just here, and I could then just kind of go through there and do those things. But a really nice couple of keyboard shortcuts that you might want to know, they come in really handy, is if I press Control and A, okay, so that's Control and A, and that highlights all the text. So Control and A will highlight all the text in your document. So if I want to do something really quickly, I press Control and A, and now I'm going to press Control and 5. So Control and 5 does 1.5 spacing. Okay, so Control and 1.5 spacing, Control and 2 double line spacing, and then Control and 1 single line spacing. Okay, so just a quick way to tell your learners that's a really nice way. Control and 5, 1.5, Control and 2, double line, double spacing, Control and 1, as it was before. The other thing that just springs to mind is sometimes if you have maybe some learners who maybe leave the caps lock on, and when they're typing out text they have a whole bunch of text which is in cap locks. Well, a nice way to overcome that, if I just remember, I think it's pressing the Shift and F3 key. Yes, you see, so if you press the Shift and F3 key, that toggles between uppercase, lowercase, and sentence case. So if your student hands a bit of text in and it's all in uppercase and you want to get to sentence case, that's the Shift key and F3 together. Okay, so Shift and F3. So there you go, a couple of tips to help out. So, of course, the other thing is we've got colour, we've got line spacing. Let's just maybe put that line spacing up, Control and 5 to get some double line spacing, 1.5 spacing, is we may want to change the font. So that's obviously quite easy. But the one I've got here is the Open Dyslexic font. Now, there's obviously a lot of discussion. Some students like it, some students find it not so useful. But one of the reasons why students do like it is just mainly because of its consistency, is that if I just increase that text up a bit larger, you can see that it's quite heavy weighted on the bottom. So the O's, the D's, the E's, that type of thing, there's a consistency which flows along the sentence, so it makes easier, easier to read the text. And of course the spacing between each of the letters as well is also meant to be quite useful. Now, you'll see the links for that when we get back if you want to use that. So that's good. We've got a font, and of course we can just sit with the learners and we can try different fonts out till we find what's useful. Other thing here, if I go into so just show you that again, just under the font box is that little drop down arrow. We can go into advanced, and it might be that we have to maybe change the spacing between the letters. So here we've got character spacing, and it may be that the student maybe needs just to increase the character spacing as well. So that just increased that. So those options are there as well should the student need that. But one thing that's very useful is once you've got the font and once you've got everything the student needs, you may want to say set as default. So if you choose set as default and say to this document only, or all those documents, whenever you open up Word, that font always appears. So it just saves a lot of faffing of having to go in and make those changes. Okay, so that's just, I'll just show you again in there. So that's just under font, it's in there, and advanced for doing the character scaling, and just the main menu for setting as default as well. Okay, so that's quite good. We've got our document set up. So, and we've set the font as default, so whenever we open up that document, we want the font to be there. But that's just, all that's doing is actually just saving the font. What if we wanted to save that as a template? So every time the pupil or the student opened up that document, all the settings were there, the color background, the line spacing, that type of thing. So the way to do that is to go up to File, and to Save As, and I'm just going to find a place on my PC, and see Desktop, and instead of saving it as a Word document, what I want to do is to save it as a Word template. So if I save it as a Word template, and I just got that, so I'll say Save onto my this PC. I'm just going to make sure I've got it on my desktop, say Save, and if I just close, I'll just minimize this one down actually. And you see now this one here has a kind of blue line across it. That's telling me, in earlier versions, it's a sort of golden brownish line, but that's telling me now that that document is my template. And if I open up, typical, the colours disappeared. That shouldn't actually happen, but the colours disappeared for this reason. That just tells me that, you know, that I've got that. So save as document template, and that should, he says, keep all the settings. So that's quite useful, but we maybe want to then provide some additional support for the pupils. And how can we do that? Well, one of the things we can do is look at the word add-ins. So I'm just moving along the template here. So I've got the words ribbon, layout, references, till I come to add-ins. There's a couple of things that you can do. The first one is I'm going to look at is this one here, WordTalk. So that's a free download. If I maybe just bring up the page and just go to WordTalk, bring up WordTalk for you. Okay, so that's a free download from the call site that you can use. It just integrates into Word very nicely. And what I can choose to see is, well, I can either have it read a word or I can read a sentence. Let's speak a sentence here.
Video provides a powerful way to help you prove your point.
Okay, so that's quite handy, giving an extra bit of scaffolding and support.
When you click online video, you can paste in the embed code for the video you want to add.
Okay, other things I can do with WordTalk is if I go into settings here, if you've got different voices, you can change the voice. I might want to maybe have a bit of highlighting. So with the yellow background, I might want to have some blue highlighting as it's speaking. So that's a synchronized setting, and continue. So now if I go back to you and press sentence.
You can also type a keyword to search online for the video that best fits your document.
Okay, so obviously that's the sort of thing, again, you might have to sit with the pupil and just work through those sorts of settings. As well, if I take some text from here, we can also save that text as an MP3 format. So let's save that text there. Okay, it's not available. Okay, never mind. So just say save to MP3. Get some error messages. Not sure why that is. And you can save that to your desktop as an MP3 or a WAV file. There's a spell checker in there, so any spell checking mistakes, there's a talking spell checker. That's also in there, so if you're not identifying anything. So there's lots of tools, but one of the really nice tools I think in here, if I just scroll to the bottom of the and go into the settings again, is this option here in the options is to echo the words. So not just for reading Word documents, but also for writing. So if we say echo words, echo sentences, and I want to save that setting and say yes. So now when I type, I can say continue and just say this, okay, and so forth is a demo, and it reads it back. So again, that's a very useful feature for pupils. So that's one way that you could use that to select text. I'm just going to pop back to the Home tab now, and I'm going to talk about this bit in a bit more text, but the other one is just the built-in. So if it's difficult for you to get hold of WordTalk, or you can't install WordTalk for whatever reason, there's actually a built-in speech button within Word. So if I highlight that bit of text, and up here, just on the left-hand side, I press on Speak.
Video provides a powerful way to help you prove your point.
Okay, so that's
a powerful way.
The Speak button, and I'm just going to show you slowly soon how to do that. So that's another one that you could use. And then the other way, if I just pop back into the Add-ins tab, we can also, if you're wanting to maybe add information, or maybe a teacher, for example, wants to give some homework and she just knows that the pupil's going to forget, or leave some instructions, I can use this one here called Clara Recorder. Okay, and again, the link's in the box when we go back. So let's just tap on Clara Recorder. So that maybe the student's having difficulty handwriting, or maybe leaving a message. You record, and then once you finish that, we'll just say stop, and then you can see that's in there. Let's just press that and open that. And we've got some text having difficulty handwriting, or maybe okay. So that's lots of ways in which you can use Word for support students in different ways. So that, if I go back to the Home button now, and I said, if you notice on my Home on the ribbon, it's slightly different. I've added these extra additional features here, and one of those is the Speak button. So if I'm just wanting to get quick access to my Word document to specific features, for example, page color, I can just have them all exactly where I want them. So I'm not having to faff around, go to different sections. If I want to go to read mode, there's read mode there. If I want to maybe have a phonetic guide to see, you know, how words are constructed phonetically, or have auto text, or do a grammar text, all those sorts of tools are there. How is that done? Well, it's actually fairly straightforward. You go to File, so into File, and then down to Options. Okay, into Options, and this brings up the Options box. So File and Options, and then what we want to then choose is choose Customise Ribbon. So I'm going to customize the ribbon, and there's all the options. Now, what I did for this specific one was you can either do two things. You can create a new tab, or you can create a new group. Now I created a new group. Let's just click on Insert for the heck of it, type in New Group, and there it is there. So I can rename that and give it a name. But the one up here is the one that I created earlier, okay? And essentially what I did was I went to the one on the left, Choose Commands, where it's got all commands. And for example, the Speak one, let's just type in there and press S for Speak till we come to Speak. It's in that one somewhere, maybe gone past it. Let's see, you see that lots of commands there. And when you find the Speak button, have I gone past it? Maybe have. Let's just, oh, there's Speak there. Okay, let's add it again to this one. So let's go to, let me see the one I just made up. Let's just try here, try Speak, add that one to my listed tab. It's grayed out for some reason, it must be in there. Let's just do specific people, add that one, and you can see that then goes in there. So if you want to get rid of it, you just remove it, and you can customize it as you want it. So a really handy feature just for customizing the interface. So it might be, for example, that you don't want all these other tabs because maybe the student's just struggling with all the information overload, or it's just too difficult to navigate around in Word. So you can just uncheck those ones so they disappear, and you could just have that specific tab in there. So just a quick overview again. So that's File, and into Options, and then down to Customize Ribbon. I choose where I want it to go by creating a new tab or a new group, and if that command isn't in that one, we go to all commands appear, and then you just a case of popping the one across that you're wanting to add it to. Okay, so that's hopefully a handy feature. So that's looking at how we can support pupils just with what's there, with what's built in. The next stage then is looking at how we can make the document a bit more accessible for maybe someone who's visually impaired, or someone who maybe finds really navigating through documents is difficult. Okay, so we'll look at that. So I'm just going to change the text here. I'm just going to change that back to, so press Control and A. I'm going to do something maybe Arial, for example. Okay, and then we'll just change that down to 614. So what I essentially want to do is, just now I have a document that has no structure. It has no structure or no styles. And I want to start introducing some structure and styles into my document. And this will become more evident as I'm working through it. So I could go up to the settings here, up to the styles dialog box. I could click on that, so that's showing. And I could just say, okay, I want heading 1 here. Heading 1, okay. Let's see, heading 1. Put that in there. And I might want to make this next one a heading 2. Let's just go down there. Take that and make that a heading 2. Heading 2. I've still got, I think I'll switch off my add-ins here. I've got Heather speaking in the background. Save that setting and continue. And I want my next heading here. So this could be a third heading. Let's just put that in there. Heading 3. And let's just go down to the next page. And we want a final heading here, heading 4. But of course the heading could be anything. It could be a title. It could be, I'm just using these terms, but it could actually be anything. So what I could do now is just to make that heading 1, I'm going back to the home page, and I could just click on there, let's become a heading 1. I could then go to the next one, find the heading 2 in the style sheet, there it is there, and I've got a heading 2 structure as well. Now, if I go to view, just find out where that is. Yeah, I want to go to view and I want to go to the navigation pane. Okay, so I'm going into view and I'm going to navigation pane. And now you can see what these headings are beginning to appear now. So if I then go to heading 3 and I choose heading 3, okay, you can see it's appearing now. Let me go down to heading 4 and let me choose another heading 3 for heading 4 and so forth. Okay, so now I'm beginning to build in a bit of structure. I'm going to make that, normally it would be a heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 until you maybe come to another start of a chapter or a large page. So just like that again, just so you can see that. So now I can navigate around my document just by clicking on those headers. So I'm beginning to build in some sort of navigation. Another interesting feature, if I just click in there, it tells me it's a heading 2, and very quickly I can just say select all those ones. You see it's just selecting those ones there, so I could quickly go in and modify those headings. So it's a really good way. I think this is the way Bill Gates wanted Microsoft to work, that I could then make changes to all my documents. So I've got some sort of headings. That's quite good for a start, and you can see them in the navigation pane. So I might want to then go and maybe add some page numbers as well, because page numbers is very important. So let's just go to insert and page number, and I'm just going to pop this one at the bottom of the page. So now we've got page numbers, we've got heading structures and page numbers. Okay, what else can we do? Well, I could say, for example, what I want to do is I want to maybe add a hyperlink for the pupil. So working on a document and I want to add something. So I could say to find out more, visit the BBC website. Okay, let's just make that a bit bigger so you can see it. Okay. So I could just copy and paste the BBC website in there, or another URLs, and sometimes you've maybe seen in Word documents at presentations where it's a very long URL, difficult to get in there. So what I can do at this stage, I can just highlight, maybe, let's see, that bit of text there. I'm going to insert here, and I'm going into hyperlink. And what I'm doing is there's the text there, I'm just going to put in the BBC, www.bbc.co.uk. Okay, so I've got the text there, but in the screen tip I can add some more information. So I could, for example, say lots of interesting information on this site, or something more useful for the pupil. So if I say OK to that and OK, now I've got that hyperlink, and as I move my cursor over, you see I've got that additional bit of text. So if the student needs some additional support, that's one way that you can do it. So that's another way. We've got some links that we can use. Finally, if it's a really large document and I want to build some internal navigation, the other thing we could do is maybe have what's called a go to top, or you maybe seen those as well. So just building in more navigation as we're going along. So this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to highlight that bit of text. I'm going to say hyperlink, and instead of where it was here before, existing web page, I'm going to say place in this document. And when I do that, you can see I've got all the heading structures that I've made. So again, one of the reasons why it's really good, is to use heading structures. It just makes life so much easier. So if I say heading 1, go to top, OK now. So now if I press and go to top, click that document, and that takes me there. So that's the sort of thing you could build into a Word document as you're going along. Why else is it good? Okay, so the other reason why it's good, I'm just going to have a new page here, is building in web structures. If I go to references, because I've used that heading structure, I can see a table of contents. I can maybe make a custom one or just use the one that's built in. And if I go up here, there we go, we've got some additional text in there. But now I can just say, click on heading 1. This isn't how it should have been actually. If I just click on heading 1, and that will take me to heading 1 and so forth. Yeah, not quite, yeah, there we go now, okay. And then just clicking back to go back there. So I've probably got heading 2 styles in there where I shouldn't have them. And the final thing is, once you have that document, is that the next stage is then is when we go to File and you save that document, the other one you might want to save it as a PDF. So if I just save that to my desktop, the other option there is instead of a Word template this time, is I'm going to save it as a PDF. And I want to go into this one here called Options. Because what Options allows me to do is use those bookmarks, those headings that I've made. If I check that, create bookmarks using headings, and I say OK to that, and I save that to my desktop. What that now does, it brings me up that PDF, and you can see I've got that dynamic kind of, let's go to the top here, structure into my document. So it's a kind of win-win situation, and if you have someone who's blind using a screen reader, the screen reader will pick up that kind of information and allow them to navigate around the document without any difficulties. So I'm almost out of time. I'm more than out of time. Just one last thing I wanted to show you, and this is the new feature that's been around for not too long. And if I go to the Insert tab, you can see you have these new things here, okay, my add-ins and the store. So it's using some add-ins from the Microsoft Store. So if I just tap on that, I can see some of the add-ins that I've got. Depending on the kind of level of access you have, you might be able to get some of these. So I've got one where I've got an add-in that will read my document. The one I'd like to show you is this one here. If you're familiar with Text Help Study Skills, so let's see and insert. And what Text Help Study Skills is, it just allows you to maybe do some text highlighting and extraction. So let's do a bit of text there, highlight yellow, let's find another bit of text, find a bit of text there, highlight blue, another bit of text. These are the kind of information I'm using for studying, highlight green, and what I then want to do is collect those highlights. Let's see if it goes. Let's see, click here to view a new window, and then hopefully there's my highlights there. Okay, all coming in that I can text. So quite a nice little feature that's there, and there's loads of these apps that are there. There's let's just tap that one off. Let's go to the add-ins. There's a file. So if you've got Word or files that have maybe a graphic in them, you want to convert that graphic to text, there's an OCR converter. Read my document, do something similar. We can just read the text that's selected if you don't have any of these other options. You have to be online for to read the text.
You can paste in the embed code for the video you can paste in the embed code for the video.
So loads of options there in Word that are available, and I'm just going to come out of there now, and let's find out where we are. Hopefully everyone's still with us. And we're back. Okay, so that is that's kind of it in a nutshell. These are the links I mentioned. Here's the digital jotter that my colleague Paul made. So if you want to look at how to do something as a digital jotter in the read mode, there's some information there. And these are some of the links that might come in handy for you as well. So I'm slightly over my time. Sorry about that. So I don't know if you have any questions, anything you'd like to ask, or even for me to go over again. Good to see lots of other people have joined us as well. I guess so. Yeah, I suppose I could send them. Yes, I don't see that's a problem, Val. This would be made an archive, so you could get it from that way. That would be one way of doing it. So if you just click on them now, I don't know, but yes, I could send them to you, yeah. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay, thank you, Val. Thanks for coming along. Oh, no problem. Yeah, it'll be on the archive hopefully by Friday. Okay, thanks. Anything that was new to you or hadn't been covered before, or you'd like me to go over again? I do like the some of those insert features that you get from the Microsoft Store. Some of them are quite good. Some of them are paid, but on the whole, they're quite useful, and the free ones are very good. Certainly, the Text Help One Study Tools is a nice little tool. Laura, I think you're with the NHS, so you might be restricted to what you can actually get. Oh, there's okay, that's great. Okay, folks, if there's no more questions, I'll just close up the room and finish the recording. So thanks to everyone for joining today, and remember, we're all bound by accessibility legislation, so it's good to have these things in place, making Microsoft or Word or PowerPoint and these sorts of things, PDFs, much more accessible, keeps you on the right track. Okay, good. Okay, thanks, Richard. I'll go away and mix some more music now. Okay, thanks, Richard. See you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.